I'm going to pass you over to Craig now.
Thank you very much. Hello everyone, how are you doing? Right, I want to start today by telling you a story. And it's a story about my mum and dad and their charitable giving. You can see where I got my boyish good looks from the photo. Now, long before I became a fundraiser, my parents would often go on a day trip to Whitby from our home in Teesside. And on the way home, they'd stop at a farm shop, pick up some homemade jam and some marmalade, and they'd come back and tell me and my brothers about the fabulous place that they visited called Botton village, which is part of the Camp Hill Trust. Now, they stopped at Botton as they'd been invited to an open day there because they gave to the charity which runs the village for people with learning difficulties, and it's their own self-sustaining community. They found it a really, really inspiring place, and they'll just love to see the difference that their donations made. Now, my parents are very generous people, and every year they receive hundreds of appeal letters from charities. They give most of them to me to learn from, which is great. Yet, even to this day, the mailings from Botton always find their way to the top of the pile and generally receive a donation. So if we fast forward a few years to when I became a fundraiser, I became much more interested in the giving and why they give and how they chose which charities to support, to try and learn from it. And when I delved further into why Camp Hill was their charity of choice, I discovered three main reasons. First was all about the fabulous storytelling and photography. You really got to know about the village life and the people you were helping. It made you feel really good. The second was the involvement, such as invites to the open days, and the feedback on your donation. So you knew if you gave at Christmas, there'd be an update in the next issue all about what that money had achieved. And thirdly was the trust and the respect that they showed to donors by giving them the choice, by treating them like adults. And it's this third factor that I wish I'd thought of, because for me, it's the best example of relationship fundraising in practice. Now, all Camp Hill did to achieve that trust and respect was to include this simple form in every part of their DM. Here we go. And it just asks a number of questions. Questions that you'd want to be asked if you want to be treated like an adult and if you want to be treated like someone who can be trusted. Things about how often do you want to hear from us? Promoting legacies. Would you like to know more about how you can help in that way? Would you like the latest video of the difference your donation is making? And it also encouraged feedback with the donor care team. Now, this is such a simple idea, and we could all go off and copy this. But like many simple ideas, the reality of it is actually really difficult to replicate the success of this. And there's a couple of fundamental reasons for this. Because lots of charities have tried to copy this approach and failed, and not been able to give the same experience and feedback as Camp Hill have. And the first is all around a time factor. You know, the donor-centric approach is not a short-term strategy. You know, in fact, it's probably going to lose you some money in the short term, as you could probably squeeze a little bit extra out of your donors by putting another mailing in, not listening to the choices. But actually, in the long term, and the Camp Hill Trust have had the courage to do this for over 20 years now, it will transform your organisation. And the results of Camp Hill bear this out. They've gone from next to nothing in legacies to over 3 million per year. They now have over £90 million worth of assets in the bank. They've reaped the rewards of their patience and consistent approach over the years. And now, as my parents' generation sort of get towards later age and start thinking about legacies and sadly dying themselves, I'll put good money that the Camp Hill's legacy income will double or even treble in the next few years. Now, the second success factor is all around about keeping high-quality data and recording those donor preferences. Now, I want you to be really honest here. Put your hand up if, like me, you're not happy with the quality of your fundraising data. Quite a lot of you. Good. It's not just me then, a few. Now, Camp Hill's strategy is hard to copy because it requires absolutely exquisite, beautiful data. It's this data that allows them to keep their promise to donors, and it's the accuracy which builds up the trust and respect of them over time. And this is borne out with the results of their flagship Christmas appeals, where some segments respond at over 50%. And if you look at their per donor mailed income, it's 8, 10, 12 times better than the per donor mailed income for any charity I've ever worked for. It's absolutely phenomenal. So to finish up, you've already heard many great ideas today, but the one I really wish I'd come up with, and perhaps more importantly, been able to implement, is Camp Hill Trust's approach to giving donors choice. It's been what kept my parents donating and buying jam for over 20 years. Thank you.